Have you ever just looked at the world with all its beautiful chaos and felt like there's something deeper going on? Well, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer was convinced of it. He put forward this pretty mind-bending idea that our entire sense of self, the feeling that you are separate from me, from everything else, is a grand illusion. And he kicks it all off with a statement designed to pull the rug right out from under you. Right there. The world is my representation. Now, Schopenhauer isn't just trying to be poetic here. He means this, literally. Everything you see, hear, and touch, every tree, every person, even this explanation, it doesn't just exist out there on its own. It exists for you, as a mental picture, as an experience happening inside your conscious mind. And that, of course, leads to the big question. If the whole show is happening in my head, then what about all the separate bits and pieces? The sheer number of things in the universe? Is all that division real, or is it just a quirk of how my mind is built? Okay, so first, let's just get our feet back on the ground. Let's talk about the world we all think we know, the world that feels so incredibly real. Schopenhauer calls this the world of representation, and it's defined by one thing above all else. It's packed with a seemingly infinite number of things. I mean, this is our day-to-day reality, right? It's the world of you versus me. It's built on clear lines, which, often lead to conflict. Think about it. The wolf and the rabbit, the hunter and the prey. They aren't just separate. They're in direct opposition to each other. This whole system of countless individual things bumping into each other is what our senses tell us is real. But according to Schopenhauer, our senses are not giving us the full picture, not even close. And here's the twist. Schopenhauer, who was a big fan of Immanuel Kant, says we don't actually experience the world directly. Nope. Instead, reality has to get through a seriously powerful filter first, and that filter is your own mind. This is so important. We never get the raw data of what's out there. Everything we perceive, everything, has already been sliced, diced, and organized by our intellect before we're even aware of it. And this filtering process isn't random. It follows a very specific, unbreakable set of rules. These are the three pillars of our mental operating system. They are the absolute bedrock of separation. Space gives us here versus there. Time gives us a sequence, a before and an after. And causality lines everything up into cause and effect. Try, just for a second, to imagine an experience that doesn't involve space, time, and causality. You can't. It's impossible. And this is where it gets really wild. Schopenhauer slams his fist on the table and says, space, time, and causality are not features of reality itself. They are the software, the programming that our mind uses to build our experience. Think of it like the grid lines on a map. They help us make sense of the world, but they aren't part of the actual territory. So if these rules are built into our minds, how exactly do they create this world of endless individuals? Well, Schopenhauer has a special name for this whole mechanism. It's the engine that powers the entire illusion of being separate. He calls it the principium individuationis. A bit of a mouthful, I know, but it just means the principle of individuality. And it's not some new mysterious force. It's just the name for what happens when space, time, and causality all work together. Their one and only job is to take a reality that is fundamentally whole and chop it up into all the individual things and separate moments that we experience. Let's use a metaphor to make this really click. Imagine the true underlying reality is like a single beam of pure white light. It's completely whole, unified, undifferentiated. Now imagine our mind, with its built-in rules of space and time, acts just like a crystal prism. That prism, our principium individuationis, takes that single unified reality and shatters it, refracting it into a whole rainbow of what look like separate colors. And that's it. That's how the one becomes the many. The undivided whole is suddenly perceived as countless individuals, distinct objects, and a long chain of separate events, all because it's being viewed through the distorting lens of our own mind. So that begs a pretty huge question, right? What is that single beam of light? If our world of separate things is just a colorful illusion, what's the true undivided reality hiding behind it all? Schopenhauer has a name for that too. He calls it the will. The will is the thing in itself, the core of all reality. But, and this is super important, don't think of it as a conscious God or some kind of thinking being. For Schopenhauer, the will is a totally blind, irrational, pointless energy. It's a constant, desperate striving that has no end goal. It's the force that makes a plant grow, the gravity that pulls planets, and all the relentless, contradictory desires churning inside of us. Because the will is the true reality, it has to exist outside of our mind's filtering system. That means it's beyond space and beyond time. And if you have no space to put distance between things and no time to separate one moment from the next, well, then the will has to be fundamentally one and undivided. It's a single massive ocean of energy, and everything we see in our world is just a temporary wave on its surface.
So, what's the big deal? What happens when you take a single, blind, striving force like the will and use the mental prism of space and time to shatter it into billions of competing little pieces? You get tragedy. That's what you get.
This is really the dark heart of Schopenhauer's philosophy. The separation our minds create isn't just some harmless trick. It creates a world where the one will, appearing as all of us, is now pitted against itself. Every fight for survival, every conflict, every act of violence, it's all just one part of the will struggling against another part of itself. Schopenhauer sums up this horror with a truly chilling phrase. In our world of illusion, the wolf that devours the rabbit has no idea that it's just one manifestation of the will consuming another. In this cosmic horror story, the will is both the victor and the victim. It is the destroyed as well as the destroyer. So, to wrap it all up, we're basically living in two realities at once. On one side, you have the true reality of the will, this single, timeless, unified force. And on the other, you have the illusion our minds cook up, the representation, a world of countless separate things all neatly organized by space and time. Schopenhauer borrowed a term for this illusion from Hindu philosophy, calling it the veil of Maya, the great cosmic illusion that hides the true nature of what's real. And all of this leaves us with one final, really profound thought. If Schopenhauer's right, if the separation between you and me is just an illusion, a trick of the mind, if on the deepest possible level we are all just different expressions of the exact same striving will, then what does it actually mean to hurt someone else? In a very real, metaphysical way, you're only ever hurting yourself.